Economic Development Authority meeting to order, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Brandy, can you conduct the roll call, or Chris, either, whoever's.
Chair Dew,
Here.
Vice Chair Furlong,
Here.
Member Fuller is absent. Member Shifsky,
Here.
Member Vickerman,
Here.
Council Representative Cole,
Here.
Mayor Mungy.
Here.
And for staff and ex officio members present, we have Executive Director Frandl, Treasurer Community Development Director Howe, Business Association Representative Gary, and EDA Secretary Cherney.
Okay, thank you. I'd also like to welcome Joseph Matthews and Chris Thorson to the meeting. We've invited both of you guys today. We met with them yesterday. Both had applied for the opening on the EDA. We thought it would be, Mayor thought it'd be a good idea to invite you today to participate. And we'd invite you to participate just as you are a member of the EDA. Chime in, render opinion, say whatever you'd like to say that adds value, hopefully, and just give you a feel for how the EDA meetings are run these days. You're going to get a quick taste of some topics that we've been discussing. We may not have time to get all the background to you, but certainly feel free to participate as if you were full members of the EDA. And we will. We do have a closed session at the end of the agenda, and when we enter that closed session, I will have to ask both of you to dismiss yourselves along with, I think we decided, does the business association rep, didn't we say we got to kick him out too?
I'll leave.
He likes to leave anyway, so. Right. So, right.
That's right.
I had some shopping to do.
And that's fine.
Glad to see you playing.
When we get to that, when we get to that point in the meeting, by the way, and I would suspect the closed session will be relatively quick, the only agenda item we have following that is adjournment. So no need to hang around unless you'd like to come back in and watch us adjourn. So, okay. The agenda, everyone should have received the agenda, and if anyone has any modifications or proposed modifications, I will hear that now. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Just for clarification, you'll plan on indicating prior to the closed session what the topic is when you open the closed session?
I'm sorry, say that again?
On the agenda, there isn't an address or a topic of conversation?
I was going to use the same language that we used at the last meeting. Does that work?
Yes, it does. Thank
Okay, I have a little note to myself. I don't want to go to EDA jail or wherever they send you. Perfect. I'm sorry, so we had a motion to adopt the agenda from Terry Furlong. Well, second by Tom Shifsky. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we'll adopt the agenda. The approval of minutes, the minutes from the January 10th, 2023 meeting were distributed. I'll entertain any discussion or modification of those minutes. And if we don't have any, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes. Moved by Vickerman, seconded by Shifsky. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Minutes from the January 10th, 2023 EDA meeting are approved. This is a public portion of the meeting. We don't have anybody in the room. Do we, Chris, do we have anybody online? Okay. Having nobody here from the public wishing to speak, we will move to item 7, which is authority business and action items. First item on the list is the marketing video by Open Window Productions that we've been discussing, and I'll ask staff to address where we're at with that.
Sure. So Carrie and I had a meeting with Open Window Productions a couple of weeks ago to get some clarification on what the scope change would be in order to have them do more of a year-long process as opposed to the 3 months of last year, to do the EDA-focused only marketing video. And they provided a new proposal, and that was taken to City Council at their last meeting with the suggestion, or the request rather, that a cost share be provided where 50% of the price would be covered by the EDA and the HRA, and the City Council would each contribute 25% of the cost. And the total, I believe, was about $11,200. And so they're going to try to do one standard video, and I believe some other footage that could be morphed into a couple of different other styles of video with different focus areas. So if they wanted to target people coming to live in the city or new businesses coming specifically to the city, they have the ability to get that footage now and then kind of massage the material as necessary. So what we're looking for, I guess, is just approval from this group to go ahead and execute the contract.
Okay, I don't know if everyone saw, I know Tip, in the past, a lot of times the entire packet was emailed out to the EDA. In this case, I think it was just a link to the Civic Clerk, which has all of the attachments in there, so I don't know if everybody picked up on that, but a copy of the proposal is in there. I assume we're discussing the one that is attached to that packet and is dated January 31st, 23. Is that correct?
Yep, actually, I misquoted the,
It's $10,649.95 is what I have.
yes, that's right. I was
Perfect.
going from memory, and my memory is not that great.
There's a
It
discount.
started at 11, but they gave a
Discount.
discount, so. And so the EDA's, I've reviewed the proposal, do we want to pull it up, or? I don't think the scope has changed decidedly from,
Basically, just they've modified the timeframe and the ability to collect the footage that's gonna, capture the seasons.
okay.
Is it gonna be a year contract then, or are they gonna get it done sometime this summer? Because I thought we talked, they didn't have to go into the fall or what?
It looks like their last week of revisions and final delivery would be the last week of June.
Right, I think that was.
wanted to do some stuff with the snowman in there in the snow, and,
Right.
you know, since it is a snowman, we need snow.
Right, and I don't want to speak for them, but I think there was going to be some advanced work that they were going to do with the fresh snow that we had, but I don't know whether that got done or not.
Oh, I don't know if they did any work, but I believe that they're planning on starting on March 1st. So we should have some good snow by then, hopefully.
Any other comments or discussion regarding that? Okay, so the EDA's, from our budget, the EDA is committed to pay for 50% of the total cost, which would be roughly $5,325, give or take a few pennies.
And 29 cents.
Thank you. Okay, so if there's no further discussion, I'd entertain a motion to authorize the EDA's participation at 50% of the cost. And before we get that motion, I did see there is a resolution, and that's going to council that has not been approved yet.
It was approved, actually.
It was
approved last week. Mhm.
Okay, so the council resolution to participate at 25%, is that also an HRA action?
Yep.
Okay.
And I think that you just got the unsigned version because I hadn't received the signed version at that point.
Okay, got it. So the other two entities within the city have already committed to the other 50%, so,
Correct.
yes, sir.
The HRA has not met on it. I have talked with the members, but we're having an HRA next week, so that will just confirm it.
Do we expect resistance? Okay. I think the motion that we would probably want to entertain as a motion to approve our participation at the 50% level and then authorize staff to execute the agreement pending HRA's approval. Did you say next week? I'm sorry. Pending HRA's approval of the remaining 25% next week.
So moved.
So we have that motion from Terry Furlong. Do we have a second? Second by Archie Vickerman. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. So staff, once HRA approves their 25% participation, then this agreement could be executed and returned to open window. Perfect. Can you, could we ask also that we maybe, do they have some check-in dates I think they had here, or no? Who's going to drive this from the staff side? Does EDA need to do anything, I guess, it would be the question.
My understanding is that you would like Carrie to kind of be the driver.
Yes.
She's not in here anymore, but yeah, I mean, I can work with her to work with you to figure out.
No, I don't know that we need to micromanage it in any fashion, but an occasional update would be great.
Okay.
You know, hey, they're moving and getting the footage, and if they need any assistance in terms of their reach out to the business community or other agencies within the city, I'd just like to make sure that we're keeping an eye on it and keeping it moving. It'd be great to have that by mid to late summer.
Okay.
And if you had any specific things that you would like in that video, just let us know. We'll make sure it happens.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item, the item B was the 2022 annual report. We had that on the agenda last meeting. I had indicated that I would prepare a draft and circulate that. I did get comments, none of which had requested any changes back from a couple of you. Did everybody get a chance to review that? And is there any other comments or discussion regarding that draft report?
It looked good. A couple of typos in there, but
Is there? Okay, we'll check it for typos, clean up that draft. Maybe Brian, I think your signature line is on that as well. So I can probably do that while we're still on property today and then just email it to you and you can sign it pending approval here by the EDA. Okay, so
and thank you for doing that.
you're welcome. So if there's no further discussion, we'll entertain a motion to approve the 2022 annual report to council from the EDA.
So made. Second.
Moved by Archie Vickerman, second by Tom Schiske. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries unanimously. And then I don't recall, I think in years past, Brandy and/or Brian, we have always put forth the, I think it finds its way into a council packet or something is how that works. We're welcome to come speak to it at a high-level summary, or read it word for word if they like, I guess, at a council meeting, whatever. But happy to stand for questions for the council at a future meeting if they would like us to.
So should we put it in the packet for the next Tuesday meeting then?
That's fine with, I mean, we've approved it, so we'll get we'll give it a quick check for a couple typos here after the meeting, and then I'll remove the draft stamp and get it to the city manager. And then whatever that timeline is, that's fine. Okay, next item. Item C is EDA meeting frequency. Can you speak to that?
Sure, and getting familiar with my role and with the functions of the EDA itself, I came across the rule in Chapter 34 of the Municipal Code that states that the EDA shall meet quarterly and at other such times as is necessary. I know that we've been meeting monthly, and I just wanted to approach the topic and see if this is still desired by the group, and if so, we'll continue to do that, but I'm kind of looking for direction on what the meeting frequency should be.
Okay, so in part, this comes out of, Brandy and I met to kind of do some catch up about, her role. We hadn't had an opportunity to do that since she was hired. A little bit of kind of where the EDA has been, where it's going, what we're working on these days. And one of the issues came up was the meeting frequency when this, and I think when it started, when the EDA was first formed, we did meet quarterly. We didn't have a lot of business to conduct, and at some point on the continuum, I don't recall when that was, but we switched to monthly meetings, largely to keep the ball moving on whatever we were working on at the time, and then here we are every month. So I think that I'll just add my 2 cents and then certainly open to comments. For me, I think that it's, in terms of the meeting frequency going quarterly, I have a little concern, particularly with the things that we are actively engaged in, that we might find ourselves too far between meetings to keep things moving that require action. However, as now that we have full-time, staff working on issues between meetings, which we didn't have for a long time, we might see that change. And we always have the flexibility as we look at, what is on our plate to not hold a meeting, or I guess cancel it if it is already calendared, and then just opt to meet the following month or whatever's appropriate. So I certainly entertain, I know Tom likes to be here every month, but beyond that, I'll certainly entertain any discussion on that topic.
I would agree that the bulk of our work was done in the last couple of years with all the projects going on, within the community. Having monthly, fine, but, if we don't have much on the agenda, and I think, like you say, having Brandy as a full-time, person working on it, if we need to cancel the meeting for that month, I wouldn't, I think that'd be good for us to be able to have that option. But if you think there's enough on our plate, to have it every month.
Other thoughts, comments on the topic?
Well, I was just thinking, even if we had a monthly but did short meetings, to come in here and talk about something for 2 hours when we've talked about it 3 meetings prior, maybe we could go to an hour meeting instead of a 2-hour meeting.
Yeah, that's certainly an option, as the agenda is primarily set by either staff needs, and as of really the last year and a half or so, driven either by staff, myself, or the former mayor, citizen furlong. But yeah, other thoughts on that? Everybody?
I'm good with that. I think it's a good approach. Gives us some flexibility. So if there is nothing going on, we can skip a month. Just as before, if we did have an emergency meeting, we called those in the past also. So I think to have that flexibility is a good approach.
And I think the planning commission is kind of that way too, because they've canceled meetings in the past, haven't you? Either because there wasn't anything on the agenda, or.
Yeah, I think once or twice,
Yeah.
because there's nothing coming up.
And I think that could be a Brandy call between the two of you.
Right. I guess a thought that I have is that, we can insert it at some juncture. It might be good if it was kind of a standing item under staff reports, that we have a brief discussion of, do we have enough in front of us or action that we foresee that would make sense to schedule the meeting for the following month? If we can do it, like if we can do it today, looking forward to March, and say, yeah, there's a couple items there that we need to gather. And then I do think we're, Tom, to your point about restricting the meeting, I don't know all of the rules, so I'd ask staff to maybe advise us, not necessarily right at this moment unless you know, but if we do meet, I think there are certain things that we must do. That might seem a little mundane or repetitive, but if not, yeah, certainly shrink down the agenda to, clear action items, and we don't need to schedule in updates on all of the stuff that's going on unless people need to hear about it. So, does that make sense? Okay. Okay, so why don't we, any thoughts on that? Yeah, I know it's your first meeting, but, no? Yeah, I would think that, so if we can, we'll maybe just hit it as an item under staff reports and have a brief discussion. I think we should be able to collectively decide pretty quickly whether we need to gather or not, so. Okay. Item D, EDA appointments. Is that a staff issue?
Certainly can.
That'd be great.
So the city staff received 3 applications for appointment to the EDA. We interviewed all 3 applicants last Thursday. 2 of those applicants are here today to take a look at how the meeting functions, and we'll be making a selection at a future council meeting. So I guess the rest of that really remains to be seen.
Okay, so we have, and I do appreciate both of you guys coming today. As it stands at present, we have a full EDA. We've had one member request that if we can find a replacement, that would be good, and that's Kevin Fuller. His travel schedule just prevents him from being able to be present at a number of the meetings, and so it makes sense, and that is the current seat we are looking to fill. We did have, the mayor and I had a discussion about, we have viable candidates in front of us, and before we, take a position of, hey, we just need one person or trying to fill one seat, we should be a little forward-looking that we're not too far in the distance, so we're going to have to likely fill another seat. So really, it's the mayor's, the seat is a mayor appointment approved by council, if I understand correctly. So at some juncture, the mayor will need to make a decision and make an appointment or recommend an appointment to council for approval. And we need to do that with at least one seat right now. And I think we'll formally have to ask Kevin Fuller to resign. Is that, he's kind of informally resigned, but said he would stay around until we had the seat filled. So, but since he's not here, we'll just kick him off. But so we're prepared to do that at any time. And then I know we have right now we have Tom Shipsky. Your term is you've agreed to extend your term to the end of the year. Right now, I think your term runs out in about 12 days or something like that. Official.
I thought it was done in December, but I gave 2 months.
It was, but it was officially extended, and then we were looking to extend it for the balance of the year, so.
Till December of this year.
Till December, oh, yes.
Right, Jim?
I heard 2025.
Right, I thought it was a 6-year term, but, so either way, I think that, Mr. Mayor, we can have a discussion offline, or you can have a discussion with other members and then decide what we need to do appointment-wise. If we're only going to seat one new member at this time, then we would need to get something in front of council to extend Tom Shipsky's term till the end of December, because at present, I think it's only been approved by council till the end of February. If you decide to appoint, we have two candidates, if you decide to appoint both, then we'll be seeking a resignation from one of these two down here. I mean, we've talked about it, so.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Right. Okay, so that's where it sits. I don't know that we need to talk about it much further up here, other than I would say I do think that it's great that we had a number of people come forward and willing to participate and serve on the EDA. We've had a lot of the same faces up here for a long time, and while there is some value to continuity within the EDA, at some point, it's good to get a little bit of changeover as well, hear some new voices, and let other people do their time, if you will. So,
Say a little something too?
please.
Thank you. So I just wanted to thank the committee. I reached out because being a brand-new mayor, still learning, I wanted to be able to take the chair and the mayor and city manager and ourselves to be able to look at it, and the council member too, as far as bringing up a team to be able to look at where we're going with all these. We're doing the same thing with the park and rec and everything else. We're bringing everybody together. So working out very well. I've heard positive feedback from everybody that's been involved. It's good to have an understanding as far as different opinions on this. So it's gone very well as far as being able to vet out and be able to understand, and some of the different, especially the chairperson and everybody who's been running the committees and that. So this is going universal across all the appointments for any committees that there are. Thank you.
Okay, I don't think we have any action items at this time. Okay.
I have a comment.
Oh, yes, sir.
To stay, Tom, don't take it wrong. I believe the terms are 2 years or 3 years for the positions that are currently up here. They're not one-year terms. So can we, in essence, if we're moving, so choose to relist Tom and move him forward, it's for whatever the definition of the term is, whether it be 2 or 3 years. You can resign at the end of the year. And then, because what we've done historically, and Citizen Furlong, you can correct me, when somebody comes on board, they basically backfill what's left of the term. So that I believe there's a reason that we stagger the terms, and as opposed to giving a one-year option, that it gets renewed for a 2-year term. But anybody's welcome to walk at any given time.
I thought I renewed every year in December.
No, because Archie's still on board for another year, so I know there are at least 2, if not 3.
Yeah,
He's July, or June or July? Yeah, he's 6 months different than mine. Mine's December.
Well, I think that, to your point, Councilmember Cole, I do think that as it was kind of laid out in the bylaws and the original intent, that it would be staggered terms. And out of the gate, we did terms that were, I think, 1 through 6 years or something to that effect. I drew the short straw or the long straw, whatever. Got stuck with the 6-year term. But I think one of the issues that we've had, frankly, is that we haven't had people from the community, come forth, looking to serve. And so we've somewhat, right or wrong, we've cobbled it together and kept a, fully seated EDA over time. So I would suggest it's probably, if we haven't already done so, maybe get a good accounting of and listing of where everybody's terms sit officially on the record, and if we need to make any corrections to that so that we have, staggered terms that meet the intent of the bylaws. This is probably a good time to do that And I do think that, Councilmember Cole, I think you are correct, that it's, if somebody is halfway into a 2-year term and resigns, then whoever backfills that is serving essentially a year, and then either is reappointed or replaced at that juncture.
Yeah, I finished I had a year on my first one because I was filling somebody's position, so. I was reappointed for planning.
So having people that have volunteered to come in and serve on the EDA is a bit new to us, so we've just been forcing people to stay, so we're really not sure where anybody's terms are. Right. But if we can look at that, and then I think it would probably be helpful to the mayor as well if we circulated that information as to where we believe it sits, and then we can touch on it briefly at the next meeting so everybody's aware how long they are destined to servitude here.
Because I think the only one-year position is the liaison position, and that's entirely up to the mayor to pick if he wants another council person to come in and shuffle things around. I think this is the only position that's 1 year.
When you say, is that council liaison or business associate?
Council liaison,
Okay.
yes.
As a business.
My apologies.
Business liaison.
Brett's
It's a
stuck
10-year
forever.
term, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
okay.
20.
20-year term, perfect.
Okay.
Okay, good. Any more discussion on that topic? Okay, great. So Mr.
Still on.
You're stuck for now. Yes, sir.
Sorry. Well, I just checked.
Right. I think that, I think, again, pending the mayor's decision on appointments, if there is, unless you decide to seat two, one of these two gentlemen opt to step down, Mr. Shifsky's term does need to be approved for extension by the council sooner rather than later, since it expires at the end of this month. Okay, sorry.
Meet out in the parking lot and wrestle.
It could be. Rain and I'm kind of slippery.
Okay, I'll leave you guys to fight that out.
All right.
Next item, a couple updates under discussion items. Do we have to call this a parklet? Are we talking about the space between Sidewinders and?
We can call it whatever. I
I,
don't know what
in all seriousness, I do have concern about labeling as a park at any level, because that has, I think, is received by the community in a, right.
To me, a parklet is something in a parking spot, like in front of a bar. It's in a parking space, and they make a temporary space on the street. To me, that's a parklet. And I could be wrong.
No, I think that's also, I'm not sure what this particular thing is called. Perhaps it's green space, urban,
Green space,
open area. I don't know.
green space.
We can drop the parklet.
Yeah, and just as a matter of background, you guys might remember a number of years ago, prior to the development of the Sentinel building on the old City Hall site, it was just getting ratty and what have you, and we said, okay, well, let's clean it up and put some grass there or something temporarily. I do think we went to great lengths to make sure we didn't call it a park, because people, you don't get rid of parks very easily. So if we label something as such, then we just don't want to get caught in a trap later on. We're having the same discussion about the parcel of land between Sidewinders and I'll just say the tattoo parlor. I don't know if that's still there or not, but the old medical center site. And we do have, when we get there, we have some renderings and have asked WSP to do some work and prepare some cost structure for cleaning that area up, but fully believing that to be temporary, because we see that as a potential developmental spot within the city. So, any rate, with that, please, if we can. Yep.
So quick, parklet is a public seating platforms that convert curbside parking spaces. So it's a parking space outside that's converted into a parklet. So I don't think that fits our definition. the green space, open space.
Let's just call it green space in
Oh.
downtown between Sidewinders and.
Perfect.
Future development.
I agree.
Kind of, that's the wrong screen.
And while Brandy's pulling that up, I think so the current status, are you going to brief us on that? The current status of the,
The current status that I have is from an email from Morgan from a few months ago, so I don't know how current.
okay. So where I understood we left that off as the EDA is we had a couple of renditions as to what might get done there with a rough cost that was presented to us, an engineer's estimate, we'll call it. I think for the EDA, I believe we had decided that we had liked one over the other. The intent here, again, is to to kind of clean up a beautification, if you will, and a temporary use for that space, pending utilizing that as a future infill project, or maybe part of a larger project should some of the adjacent structures go with it, depending on, what happens. We did authorize and executed doing some soil borings in there for a couple of purposes. We wanted to make sure that the old basement from the medical building that was there was not fully intact and creating a bathtub, if you will. And we also wanted to get a general read as to the condition of the site should a developer come along and show interest in the site, that we didn't want to pay for improvements, and then, as inevitably happens, the very next day, somebody's interested and they want to go drill holes through our freshly done improvements. At least we had some base data that they could use before we put turf or asphalt on top of it. So right now, where I think this sits, where I understand it to sit, is as we approach the spring and summer, we would like to get it in place, which means from the EDA's perspective, we really need to, I think we need to at least briefly revisit the plan options or make sure we confirm the plan that we all said we liked, and then give some direction to staff to kind of verify costs and work out where the money's going to come from to get this effort done, so. Is that consistent with the? Yes, it is. Okay.
So there are two options. So the first one is on the screen. You might be a little bit more familiar with the variations, but it's basically the center walkway is the difference. This is really hard to navigate. Sorry.
What is the dark green part of
I
that?
think the dark green is just their way of covering up a previous rendition, so just consider it grass.
Oh, got it. So I think we had do we have a sidewalk going along that parking lot?
Are you saying along, through the center or on the Sidewinder side?
On the Sidewinder side, I think is.
We had talked about that. I thought the way we had left it was we didn't care for that because that would become a Sidewinder's smoking break area. And so we wanted to move the thoroughfare, if you will, the hard surface thoroughfare to the center to allow people to, pedestrians, et cetera, to move between 7th Avenue and the parking in the back there. That's how I remember it.
That's accurate.
That sounds correct after looking at the past meeting minutes. So I believe this is the option that you selected, is that right?
I think that is correct, yep.
So it's a center walking path with, I think that's a 6x6 art pad, just adjacent to the parking lot, and I believe a picnic table. Is that what that other little brown area is?
Correct.
Did you want me to bring the cost estimate back, or?
Yeah, if you could.
Okay, let's see. There we go. So I don't know if you have the background on this, but I believe that I'm not entirely sure what the indirect versus the bid costs. I think the bid costs are what it would cost to have somebody come in and do the work, and the bottom 52,000 was potentially if the city could just do it internally. Is that your understanding?
Well, I think we'd actually suffer, if you will, both elements. So the top part is work that we would essentially have to contract for, and those are the estimates for that work. And the items down below, in an effort to, I'll just say cost share, or from an EDA's perspective, push those costs to another budget within the city and not ours, to see if the city can utilize public works staff or what have you to help out with some of this. Has that been discussed at all at city management level or council level? What do we, I know that, I believe the discussion in the past was, yeah, we could probably do it, but it kind of depends on what's going on with the city and timeline and everything else. What's the viability? Is that a non-starter, or is that something that we might be able to make happen?
It was something that we were able to accommodate on the last time we did that with the old City Hall site, but I might refer back to Mr. Furlong. When John was here, did you guys have any understandings of this conversation, or, okay?
I don't think we ever got that far.
What do you say, John Stark?
Yeah.
I don't think we quite got that far.
We can certainly be involved with the process to help it along.
Well, I know the cost has come down considerably from when we first saw that. Wasn't it like 100,000 or close to 100,000?
Well, I mean, it's still at 93 total. Yeah, I think we took a couple elements. We took the sidewalk off the west side and a couple other things that helped bring the cost down. So it feels to me that we're at a juncture that we should get a commitment from, I guess, council or whoever within the city could commit to providing the city's portion of the work, or to come back and say, well, we can do this, but there are some hard costs, or whatever the position would be. We would like to bifurcate it from a cost standpoint as it's shown in this memo, which means the EDA would be picking up $41,000 of that cost. Plus, or, depending on where the bids came in, we'd need to bid that work out, of course. And then and I think this was the engineer's estimate on what the city's cost would be, so I can't, that may be high or low, I'm not sure, but, so I think we need to probably approach it on two fronts. I think first we gotta, if the city can't participate, I don't believe, I won't speak for the entire EDA, but I think our position in the past was, we're not willing to write a $100,000 check to make this happen. So if we can't split it up, it's probably gonna die a quick death. But if the city is willing to participate with, whether it's in kind or however it's treated within the city, pick up that portion of the work that the EDA was willing to go out for bid and pick up something in the area of the 41,000 for the other work.
I don't necessarily see that as being an issue. I would like to have a financial conversation with our finance director, just to confirm, but I don't think it would be an issue, because a lot of this isn't out-of-pocket expense shy of the tables and the bench. It's city labor and equipment, so that's easier for us.
Okay, and somebody, I think at some juncture said there's some tables and benches sitting up in public works storage or something like that, so I don't know whether that's true or not, but, okay. What, for Mr. Thorson or Mr. Matthews, I mean, thoughts on the concept of this and what we're trying to do?
I think this is a great idea. I think something needs to happen with that land, cleaning it up, but, I would fully agree, writing a check for $100,000 would be a little stiff. Having that relationship with the city and seeing if they could participate half of it would be great. It's been used as a parking lot for as long as I can remember. Those that park there are pretty bold, because it was pretty rough.
Right.
And I would venture to guess that it will continue to be treated as a parking lot by those that frequent those areas. And if there are goals to develop that property, I'd just pave it over and let them park there myself. Because it's gonna be used as parking regardless, from the history of what I've seen there.
Even if we put sod on it?
They'll ride right over the side. Like they did over the grass.
Back at City Hall. Yeah, I think that's a kind of a unique area of sidewalk in the downtown district where there's a fairly substantial width to the sidewalk at that location, if I remember right.
That is right.
I'm sorry? Right. And I think there was discussion with WSB that as part of the work that we would, close off those drive elements and curb it in. So, I mean, you'd literally be hopping a curb and driving across the sidewalk.
That would work.
Yeah. And
Or some kind of knee-high fence, lock it off. But it looks like it would work if you could control people driving through there. But I think I went through there today to get to the floral shop from
Sure.
Sutton. It's open, and I know it's used as parking. It's used as snow, a temporary spot for snow until they can haul it out.
yeah,
It would work, but if it's gonna be developed, that's what I would worry about, spending a lot of nice money on something that might be developed anyway.
it is, and there's always the risk that we spend the money and put everything in place, and then day two, somebody comes along and says, I'll take it, and I want to do something there. But it has proven to be, as far as infill projects go, it has proven to have some challenges because it's a fairly tight site. It's hard to get enough economy of scale. One of the things I think that we have tried to do as part of the EDA, whether we're directly involved with it or as part of other council actions or just improvement within the downtown district, like with the street projects and what have you, is to not let areas just be unnamed and used however the community decides to use it. And in that particular area, it's looking ratty. And when we have prospective developers that come down, whether they're looking at that lot or a different lot or business owners with existing buildings in terms of improving, their facades or their structures, why do I want to do that if I've got a garbage lot right next to me that looks terrible and what have you? So I think part of our, part of the effort is to, keep, the city as a whole, but in particular the downtown district, keep it looking good. We thought that with a lot of, the car show activities and other activities that might occur on 7th, that this was a good way to, provide a little soft space within the downtown. That is one that kind of harkens back to, the redevelopment, the original redevelopment master plan, as well as the updated redevelopment master plan, is an effort to create some of these, softened green space within the downtown district. We've had, when the Sentinel went in, as we've looked at a couple other items, we've kind of bypassed some opportunity to do that. And this was a way also to make a little bit of a statement that, hey, we need some of this downtown. We can't just be all hardscape. If you do that, it limits the attractiveness for pedestrian traffic to the businesses that are down there. And, you know, whether it's car show or whatever. The other component, there was another component of that too, which is the longer-term vision is there is some level of focus on Sepulveda. Sepulveda has been, you know, we've effectively turned our back on Sepulveda as a city in a lot of what's been done over the years. I don't know that that was necessarily intentional. It's just kind of happened as a matter of course. And all of the urban planning folks that we've had in here over the years have said, hey, you really have a really unique thing here with Sepulveda, and you need to not turn your back on it, and it can be something much greater than an alleyway. And so in order to do that, you have to create a connection between 7th and Sepulveda, and this is part of that effort as well.
Have any of you guys ever seen what they've done up in Lindstrom with their back alley? They turned one of them into a one-way, the other one coming back is the other one-way. It's kind of a unique setup, and if you're ever up that way, you might want to take a peek at that. It used to be, the main drag used to be two-way, and they shut that down. It's a one-way right up, it's on 8. And then there's a loop that if you're coming the opposite way from 8, you basically turn around and you'd be going right down Sepulveda like it's a separate main drag. And then it connects up, imagine down by Helen.
And the concept was to make the main street more walkable, or?
Yeah, they put angled parking on both sides as you go down, and then the same thing on the other behind, so. I don't know if we have the room for that, but it's something that if you ever get up that way, take a peek at it, it's pretty, or even Google it or something, it's probably out there to see.
Yeah, I think that, you know, again, with Sepulveda, this is something that if you look in the redevelopment master plan and some of the great renderings that, you know, were put in there and photo montages of other areas that have similar arrangements, looks super nice. We're not going to be able to do that overnight, you know, where you really have a kind of vibrant off Main Street space where businesses start to, you know, utilize that as storefront, not kind of auxiliary, you know, access as it's used in a lot of places down Sepulveda, but real, you know, kind of entry spaces and beautification. We talked. This is just, again, part of it. When we look at the Lilly project, you know, one of the things in their plan presentations, we've asked them to consider that and, you know, not completely turn their back on Sepulveda, is that might be, you know, one of the first projects that we look at that might help us achieve this goal. I mean, it's a 10, 15, 20-year, you know, goal to turn that into something other than a back alley. So anyway, that's kind of how it all came to be. So what are the next steps here? I guess I would see it as the city staff finding out about the contribution from Public Works and other components on the lower portion of the budget, and then if we get that, ask, I guess it would be WSB, to get essentially a bid package, or I don't know, maybe staff can bid those components out. It's just a handful of whatever the path is on that, and then bring it back to the table and say, the city's in, and here's our actual cost for the bid work, and this is what we're staring at, and then we'd want to pull the trigger at that point. Is that other comments, or?
No, that makes sense.
I think that's the path we're trying to get on. And, you know, we don't, if we're gonna do it, I would suggest that we try to be expeditious in getting this done so we can ideally put it in play for the summer months here. Summer months of '23, not '24, right? Okay, great. Is there enough, you have enough guidance on that?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, good. River of God Church,
This is another item as it relates to the redevelopment master plan. So the EDA at the last meeting had asked staff to set up a meeting with the River of God Church pastor to help kind of, you'll probably speak to this better, but basically let them understand where our long-term vision is for the church property. Chris has been able to set up that meeting. It's scheduled for the 28th, and Chair Dew will be there, as well as myself and City Manager Frandl.
yeah, so the intent is that we've recently approved the redevelopment, the updated redevelopment master plan. A number of years ago, we ran into, I think maybe even when we originally published the redevelopment master plan, we ran into an issue with a business owner that said, hey, I see this thing and I see you have other plans for where my business is. And he may or may not be sitting up here at the dais to my right. And so one of the things we're trying to do this time, since we've updated that plan, is something that we discussed in the process of that is, hey, we have to paint a vision, and when we paint that vision, undoubtedly, we're going to be drawing circles and things on top, and boxes on top of existing properties that may not even be aware that they're ripe for redevelopment, or that somebody has a vision that that parcel is something other than what it is today. And so we're trying to do an affirmative reach out to a number of those properties. The church just happens to be the first one that we thought made sense, to say, hey, this is, you know, it gives us an opportunity to engage with them, understand where they're at, what's going on in their world, explain to them, at least as we see it from the EDA's perspective, why their property has showed up in the plan as maybe something other than it currently is, and just a chance to engage in discussion. It's not a, hey, we're here to push you out, and or anything like that. It's just dealing with the reality that over time, something else is likely to happen here, and we just want to talk about it, that's all. So.
Kind of along the same relationship as my wife, being a realtor, she sends letters out to neighborhoods just to see if anybody's interested in selling, and sometimes people will, yeah, because the client is interested. So sometimes if you know there's interest or something going on, it just gets the juices flowing, I would think.
Thoughts from fresh voices on that topic?
Sure, it's a right property for development, other than what it is. And whether or not that'll happen or not, it kind of depends on them.
Oh, for sure, yeah, we,
Not good press to push a church out, force it, but if you can find a relocated place for them that's all satisfactory, that would be probably good for both.
yeah, you know, absolutely, and to be clear, and to the mayor's point, I think one of the things that, you know, as we take the opportunity to meet with different, you know, businesses, be them a church or, you know, a retail business or whatever, whoever we might be meeting with and engage in those conversations, it would not be surprising to find out when we engage with folks like that to say, yeah, you know, we've been thinking about whatever, you know, doing something. And as an EDA, part of our, you know, responsibility is to ideally be at the forefront of that, and not necessarily inject ourselves, but be proactive in what's happening. And if you know, they say, yeah, we're looking at downsizing or moving or whatever. We'd like to, ideally, we'd like to keep everybody in the city and find an appropriate spot for them if they want to stay, and but have the ability to know what's going on out there and to be able to, control the destiny, if you will, of the downtown. And sometimes you might have a private transaction that takes place that we have no part of, and a good thing happens, and sometimes a not so good thing happens. I guess it depends on your perspective, but so that's what we're trying to do with that, and this is just the first meeting in that process.
I would think you guys, or as a committee, we'd always want to be proactive. You're not gonna know unless you ask. You're not gonna know unless you have that conversation.
Correct. Okay, so we'll have that meeting and report on the 28th, and then we'll report back to the EDA. Any updates on the McKnight turn lane? And just, again, for the benefit of those just joining us, over a period, what seems like quite a lengthy period of time now, there was, we have none of these are city-owned lots, they're all privately owned, but the lots that are on the west side of McKnight, outside of the Target parking lot, the old Ground Round site, there's another site sitting there that I think is in part owned by the credit union, some of it's owned by Target. You've got the old Oil Can Henry spot, all of that stuff going on over there. There is some scheduled work to occur on McKnight, and we had recently completed the new turn lane on the south side of 36 on McKnight, primarily for Quick Trip. And that kind of begged the question, well, it would be pretty nice if we had the ability to take a left-hand turn and get into Target, and, if you're going northbound, and not have to go all the way up to 11th and around the corner to get in the parking lot. And so we broached that with the county, and the county seemed quite open to allowing that to happen. And so we're in the midst of playing that out. If the opportunity is there, we don't want to let that opportunity pass us by. As the EDA, of course, we don't want to pay for any of this, but it would be from a ability to make those lots over there more attractive and potentially get new private development over there. We think it would be a good thing, so we've tried to stay engaged with it and are doing our best to see that it happens.
Correct. No, we have no update at this point in time. We did request a cost estimate from WSB to prepare a conceptual design for that left turn lane, and we're still waiting for that.
Okay. And so we do have, again, this is for the benefit of you guys, is we do have a number of things on here that we just keep on the agenda. We don't have to hammer to death every meeting, but we don't want to lose sight of it, and that's why it's on here, and McKnight turn lane is one of them, because what we found in the past is that if an item falls off the agenda a year and a half later, like, whatever happened to the turn lane? And they're done with their work, and we missed our opportunity, so. Any more on that? Okay, Pine Tree, do you want me to kick this off, and then you can, okay.
I really don't have anything to report on Pine Tree other than, well, yeah, go ahead and kick it off. I might have something to report.
Okay, so we, when Brandy and I, when Brandy and I met last week, I think it was, to just kind of catch up on her role and some EDA stuff, one of the, just driving over here, if you've been over in that area, Pine Tree Center is off of South and Division. It's, there used to be I think a Holiday, and that's where Pizza Factory is located, right? That entire building, to the best of my knowledge, appears to be vacant, with the exception of Pizza Factory. It again, my perception, it appears to be in some level of disrepair. I'll step way out on a limb and say it's ugly, if not anything, right? So it raised the question, what's happening there? And so we wanted to take some affirmative steps to kind of reach out, try to find out what is going on there, what the folks that currently own the property, is there a vision, a plan? Is there something that we could possibly engage in, help guide, find if it's going to be redeveloped? if that's the long-term vision of the current property owner, can we get, should we stick our nose into it and find out and see how it fits within, again, the redevelopment master plan and the current needs of the city and help the process. So that's how that wound up on the agenda here. And I think we reach out to Pizza Factory.
I reached out to Pizza Factory. I have not talked to the owner of the property, but the Pizza Factory owner indicated that he's had a conversation with his landlord who owns that Pine Tree Center. And it sounds like he's planning to sell at some point in the not-too-distant future. The Pizza Factory owner is not sure about his future. He's not sure where he wants to go, if he wants to continue. He was going to meet with his broker this week to identify what his options are. He told me he was 69, so, he's probably going to not be in the pizza business for too terribly much longer. So I don't know if we're going to be able to convince him to relocate or not. I don't know what the expense is for moving all of that equipment. I think it may be more than he's willing to bear, given his current situation. So I think that there remains to be seen what the owner of the site's going to do.
Thoughts? I've been talking a lot.
So Pizza Factory, long-time business, been in town long time. Cal's been a great business owner in the community. He's in a hard place right now because of the position of that or the way that building is set right now. I mean, it's almost to the point where what do you do? He doesn't want to put any money into it because the landlord isn't doing anything with the building, and who knows, they might shut everything down, so it kind of, I feel really bad for Cal because he's in a bad spot, and if there's some way that we can help as a city, I think, we should try to help as much as we can. Either find them a spot, if we can relocate them, we do have that business incentive money that, possibly we could use. I mean, I don't know, but I think, with that building in the way it is right now, it's going to be shut down fairly soon, I would think.
Shut down from code enforcement.
Code enforcement.
Me.
So with that being said, what would be the next step for us to at least investigate to some degree what the intent is, and if there's a time factor that the owner is willing or is thinking about selling this place, or if that's just, pie in the sky and he has no time frame in mind, or how he's gonna do it, or if in fact he can sell it with the shape that it's in. I'm not sure it'll pass inspection to Mr. Furlong's point if he does try to sell it. So I think it'd behoove us at least to engage and try to determine where the owner is at and if in fact there's anything that we can do to help out Cal at Pizza Factory.
Anything to add, Tom?
Yeah, it's, he's been a long time business owner, still my favorite pizza in town, but I do drive all the way from Stillwater to get pizza for I hate to see him gone.
It's the roasted potatoes that are the best.
Okay, yes, it is. But, yeah,
Because right now, he cannot, someone to buy that, I don't think he could sell it because,
Sell the business, you mean?
sell the business in that location. No one's going to take that risk to buy it and then.
noticing that building, it just seems like it's starting to crumble.
It's crumbling.
Rattier and rattier, and there's nobody there. What happened to everybody?
Holiday moved out, I don't know, how many years ago, 5 maybe? I think it's that long.
Yeah, I think we should, approach this on really two fronts, and that is the Pizza Factory front, which is, again, a primary charge of the EDA, business retention. He's in let's set aside, his personal situation and, and where they are as an individual. That's a longstanding business in the community. Clearly that that building appears to be not well-maintained and maybe headed, the way of the dodo bird at some point, and we'd hate to see the business go with it. So I think we should actively, maybe deepen the conversations and with Cal.
Well, I kind of left it open-ended for him.
Okay.
We're here to help. We just need to know what your ask is. I don't think he knows what his ask is yet.
Right.
He's doing his own investigation work, and I think that when he's ready to talk, he's definitely going to come back.
Yeah, and I would suggest we, again, maybe, if it takes too long for him to figure out what the ask is, let's just continue, let's try to, I don't want to say force, that's probably the wrong word, but, let's actively engage in it, and maybe we bring a plethora of ideas to the table, because our interest is keeping, this longstanding business in town. And if he believes, and we all believe that the viability of making that happen isn't at his current location, then we got to start looking. Where can we get him? Where can we put him in town? What options do we have? We may have none, but I would suggest if, we could probably come up with something, a number of ideas. So maybe we can schedule something to have a more meaningful conversation, and not that yours wasn't meaningful with him, but a deeper conversation about kind of where he sits and our desire to keep him within the city. The second track, of course, is getting to the building owner, trying to engage with that building owner and find out what their thought process is. I don't see this being entirely different from what took place down at the Lilly Building, and for those that maybe weren't, I don't know how much you know about that transaction and what occurred down there. You had a building for sale. You had a lot of things that might have happened that didn't fit within the vision of the city. We had engaged at one point Port Authority. All of the outside experts, I will say, certainly indicated that the right thing to do for the EDA is to attempt to control the outcome. Not that the EDA was ever going to build a building there or do anything with it, but try to control what happens. And that is part of our responsibility, to engage and make sure that, we're doing what we can within our abilities and resources to, drive the outcome that is part of the city's vision. So I think we should do that. I'm not suggesting that we run off and rip a check to the guy by any stretch, but let's engage and see where we can help. And, that could be any number of things. It could be, connecting that seller with particular resources, or, if we talk to developers that show up at the city all the time that are, hey, do you got any dirt? I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do X, Y, Z. Maybe we can just connect the parties and something great will happen. So that, I think we should do that. Do we have access to that building owner?
We do, through
We
the code enforcement side of things.
Well, I meant a friendlier type
Well,
of access, but
I'm assuming you just mean his contact information.
does anybody know?
I don't know, what is the tax worth on that building, or
No, the building code, people know who he is.
Okay.
what's the tax piece?
Chris?
One thing that you might want to inquire with Cal is, what's the length of his lease? Because if he sells that building, that's subject to leases. So his timeline, if he's got a 10-year lease on that place, he's got a 10-year home there, no matter who owns it.
Oh, okay. I did not ask that. That's a good question.
Or somebody's got to write him a check
Yeah.
for him to,
But that's an asset too.
right.
And the other thing is, the city's gone through this before with former gas stations. There's a timeline on how long those tanks can sit empty.
I think they took those tank out.
Our understanding is the tanks were removed.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah. And that, I would suspect that could be done with a quick search of the MPCA records to know whether that they've got a closure letter on that site or not. And there's, you know, there was a dry cleaner in there for years and years. I don't know if they were old school dry cleaner using all the nasty chemical. Right, okay. I would assume they were. And then when you get through all that, then you've got the North St. Paul swamp that you're sitting on that you got to deal with. But at any rate, you know, that there's clearly something is going to happen over there, and I don't think, again, I think part of the EDA's responsibility is to engage on it, and when I say engage, to at least be informed of what's going on, and we can make a decision what the level of engagement is in the future, but we should at least reach out and try to understand what's happening over there. So, is that fair? I don't think we need to vote anything other than ask staff to maybe set up another meeting with Cal and get a EDA member or two there to help in that conversation. And then if we can get information on the property owner and look to set up a similar meeting, it could either start just with staff, or if we want EDA participation, you know, a member or two to attend that as well, to have the discussion. That would be good. So does that area show up in the redevelopment master plan?
It does not, but
Outside of the downtown
it
district?
is
Okay.
it's one of the commercial properties in that particular area, so it does make sense from a redevelopment perspective. I think it might even be, it may show up in the comp plan as a redevelopment site. I'd have to look again, though.
Yeah, and it'd probably be worthy to understand what any city documentation that we have, whether it's comp plan, redevelopment master plan, pick your document, you know, what the vision for the city is in that area. And then, of course, we've got a pretty stout housing report that says we need a lot more units, you know, within the city, and that's screaming multifamily to me, but, so. Okay.
Does the EDA or staff have any relationship or anything? Is it Polar Ridge on the north side of 11th, across the street from Target? I know that there was a Oakdale-based pizza company who was looking for space that was vacated by the old Hometown Creamery, which I believe had a kitchen in there as well. And they were kicking the tires around moving over there at one point in time. So I was just curious. I don't know if there's already restaurant stuff in there that would help Cal out at all, but I know that there was another pizza place looking in that area, in that shopping center.
In the Polar Plaza?
Is that what it's called? Is it Polar Plaza? Yep.
Okay, yeah, maybe we can take a look at the records on that and see if that space is still available. Okay, I probably put us up against clock here a little bit, so I'll try to expedite the balance. Treasurer report?
Yep, I pulled the January numbers and included the actual financials from our system, and included those spreadsheets, but just the summarization is in the little staff report. The beginning fund balance was $468,362, and the assets include cash of $411,834, land assets almost $50,000, $200 in revenue approximately, and expenses were primarily personnel services, so staff time, and that was $7,486. And our fund balance at the end is $461,082.73.
Okay, great. I did, part of the meeting with Brandy last week is to kind of understand what we wanted to bring forth on the Treasury side. I know that we've struggled with that over the last couple of years in terms of understanding all of the entries. And so again, it's in Civic Clerk, so I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I think that's a great summary, just to kind of, hey, where are we? What money did we spend this month? Where are we against budget, et cetera? And then we can drill down on it further if we need to. The one question I think I know the answer based on the rest of the documents that were in there, but at what point do the levy funds for '23 hit our account? Okay. Because at least according to what I read, those funds have not hit our account. I don't know if that happens at a particular time, if you feed it to us in $10 increments, or exactly what happens there, but
I'm not sure.
Citizen Furlong thinks June.
June, okay, I'll check.
Okay. Any questions on the treasurer report? Okay, executive director report, Brian? Okay. Chair report. I have, hold on. I have nothing further. I got all my items into the agenda, so. Mayor?
We're still looking for some on the planning commission as far as commissioners, so everything else, and we have another, no, we don't, I just got a cancellation for Park and Rec, so we'll have to see if one that wants to reschedule is rescheduling, but we're moving forward on getting everybody placed. Thank you.
Okay, reports from other EDA members, anything?
I have nothing.
I just want to mention that this Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, the Historical Society is going to go in the Lilly Building one last time to grab a lot of the old documents that are stored in the basement there. So if anybody wants to help Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, they can show up. Take a look at the
I'll
basement.
be out of state, or I would certainly show up. That's turned out, I think, to be one of the unexpected pleasantries of our engagement with the Lilly Building, is coming across all of this historical data that was stuffed down in the bowels of the building. So I think that's outstanding.
And they thought that everything was digitalized, or what do they call it, scanned or whatever, and it wasn't. So those books are worth a lot of history
Right, yeah, I
for the city.
Paul's got to be happy.
And the builder is, there is some stuff that has been scanned, and he's gonna use those books for the new project. Make a room and have like a lily room, and use some of the stuff that's in the building to kind of create like a little library in the room, so.
Yeah, no, I think
I was
that,
kind of excited about it.
yeah, I think that's neat, to uncover, all of that history that's in that building. So unexpected, good consequence, I guess, coming out of our involvement there, so. Anything from our guests? Okay. Absolutely. Reports from staff. Lily, update?
Yeah, I contacted Jim to get an update on where he is, and as far as his schedule goes, he said mid-March, cleaning out the contents of the building, abatement in April, and demolition in April. And then they expect to commence excavation and foundations in May, and the total construction period is about 14 months. He did apply for 3 grants and received awards for all 3. They also submitted another application on February 1st, so hopefully that 4th one will be awarded as well. But the project, as far as I am aware, is going on as it should, without any hiccups. So we're just kind of waiting to hear more from him as it comes in.
What is its status with planning?
Planning is done.
Done?
Well, what do you mean by that?
It's through planning commission?
Oh, yeah, that happened last September.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I was sleeping, I guess. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. No, I think it's great, looking at, in the staff report in terms of the grants. I mean, here's an active developer that knows how this stuff works, which is one of the reasons we pick them. They were able to go out and get almost $500,000 in grant money to do various things that inevitably needed to be done on that property, whether it's environmental cleanup or whatever it is. So, that seems to be going well. And so if they started in May, they're talking 14 months, so we're talking a summer of '24, roughly,
Roughly, yep.
mid to late summer '24, that project would open. Good, I think it's been a great addition to downtown, so. And then the parcel across the street, we had an MOU with JB Vang on that parcel that expired at the end of January. And if you all recall, we had extended it once with the proviso that they bring something back to the EDA to show that they are making reasonable progress in their efforts, and I think we got an answer.
Yeah, I got an email from him this morning. He is, they're still looking to fill their, I think they have about a $3 million gap at this point, and they're looking at additional funding sources. So at this time, they have just opted to not extend their MOU with the EDA.
Okay, so I think that that puts that property back in play, and I know that we've had at least a couple of inquiries on those parcels over there. I don't think we have time in today's meeting to talk about what might be over there, but I would ask that we try to give it some thought and discuss it at our next meeting, what we should be doing to marketing that property, or what we should do next, what the next steps will be. So, any other thoughts or comments on that?
Speaking about the next agenda, you talked about maybe wanting to
Yep.
ID those items for next month.
Well, I think the item that we're going to talk about in closed session is certainly going to be in play next month. I think we should keep, pace at a minimum with what's going on over at Pine Tree, because sometimes that stuff can unfold and move quicker than one would think. And so we should stay engaged with that.
Parklet, or,
The
sorry, green space.
Yeah, the green space, I think, is something that we should keep on top of. I think it's worthy of a meeting next month, and if you can let me know what we're permitted to do in terms of reduced agenda. I don't know if there's certain things that we have to do if we have a meeting.
I think it's pretty flexible. I'll double check though.
Okay. Yeah, if we can, I assume we still have to have the open to the public piece and approval of minutes and all this other stuff, but we can get through that hopefully pretty quick, and then, reduce the agenda items and keep it to, if we can keep it to a half hour, 45 minutes, great. That's what we'll do. So I try to be on time, Tom. I got you out of here once early this year, so. Okay. Have to get to my notes here, just one second. Okay, so at this point, before reading my statement, I guess I have to read my statement. Do I read the statement before I take the motion to go to closed session?
I think you have to let the public know what you're speaking about in
Got it.
some terms.
Okay, so I'll be looking for a motion to allow the EDA to go into closed session. The meeting would be closed as permitted by Section 13D.03 of the Minnesota statute to discuss the potential purchase of a property. With that, I would entertain a motion to go to closed session.
So moved.
I have a motion, a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, we'll be going into closed session.